This is how to do quilt binding without any hand sewing. So you're at the point where your binding is all created and you're ready to sew it onto your quilt. What I do is I only sew maybe a 5-inch section, and then I take it off the machine. I fold over the binding to make sure that it's going to cover the seam, its own seam. So make sure that it'll cover that by at least maybe a 1/4 inch. Once you do that and you get it, then take it and sew it all the way on. Then take it to your ironing board. And this is the important part. You're going to, first of all, on this side, you're going to iron open that seam. Use some starch. Don't be afraid of using a bunch of starch. Open up that seam, iron it good. Then you're going to go around a second time with the iron. This time you're going to fold over the binding. And you're going to use this tool here, and this little blue thing slides. All right, so you're going to fold over your binding. You're going to measure that seam you made, and then you're going to make sure you're going to slide it so that it's the right size, like so. Then as you fold over your binding and you iron it, fold it over, you're going to use this tool to make sure that it's the same all the way around. When you get to the corners, don't be afraid of the starch again. I like these clips to use on the corners as I go. So once I get the seam down, ironed really good, and starched, I'll put a little clip on there just to hold it, to make sure that it'll stay there until it's ready to be sewn. Then I take this to the machine, sew maybe a 5-inch area. Just sew a 5-inch area, take it off, and inspect it. Make sure that you're covering that seam. Oh, well, you're going to sew in the ditch, stitch in the ditch, which I forgot to mention. Also, make sure, of course, that you match your threads to your fabric color. I'm using a light cream because, as you see, I got a little white, a little cream. Now, if you got some really wild colors and you can't really use one color thread, try monofilament. You'd use a smoke color for dark colors or the clear for lighter colors. Like I could have used a monofilament on here, but the cream is doing a really good job. You can't really see it. Now, what I do is I pin this as I go. So pin maybe an 18-inch area, fold it over. It'll be easy to fold over because you already ironed it. Make sure it covers that seam. And then I only pin the back of the binding to the back of the quilt. It doesn't go all the way through because it would just be too bulky if you did that and cause trouble. So, and I only pin a little bit at a time. Don't pin the whole quilt or you'll be poking yourself the whole time you're sewing. So then as you sew, when you get up to a pin like I am here, you're going to take it out and then sew past it. Do not ever sew over your pins, or else you could cause the needle could end up catching your pin, and it could end up down in your machine and cause you a lot of money to get fixed. Now, once you get the whole quilt done, it'll take your time, pin it, and then sew, keep pinning, sewing, and so on. Once you get all done, you're going to turn it over and you're going to inspect your seam, and you're going to make sure that it's all sewn down. Now, my corner is pretty good here. I caught that pretty well, but it looks like I missed a spot up here. I missed about a 2-inch spot here. So what I'll do here is I'll take out a few stitches here and here, and then I'll pin it and I'll go back over just that one spot and it'll be fine. So that is how to do a quilt binding without any hand sewing.